Arsenal are into the quarterfinals now of the FA Cup after a 2-1 victory away to Mansfield. They were fantastic. They had an absolute red-hot go. The crowd were up for it. Not a vintage display by Arsenal, heavily rotated lineup, but got the job done in the end. Plenty to talk about, and this is the Real Arsenal Deal podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Real Arsenal Deal. Rav here, as always, your host. How is everyone today or this morning? I'm recording this first thing Sunday morning, Melbourne time. I hope you're well, wherever you are in the world. It's a little bit chilly here at the moment as I record this. Some background noise. If you can hear some cars racing, well, I actually don't live too far away from the Albert Park that the Grand Prix is on. So this weekend, for as long as I've lived in this side of town, it's a very noisy weekend here in Melbourne. I'm expecting later today when the race actually starts, there's an air show that they do, and there's one particular jet that just makes the windows rattle as it flies overhead. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one for as long as I've lived in here. It's a thing every single Sunday before the race. So sorry for background noise. You can hear them racing around now doing their practicing. Anyway, on to this match. Arsenal have scraped through in the end, 2-1. It was not a great display. It wasn't the easiest of conditions too. That pitch, it was a real throwback to me watching football in the 80s and the 90s. An old-looking stadium as well. It was a real cup match feel to it. And good on Mansfield. I mean, fair play to them. They absolutely had a red-hot go. I saw some of the quotes post-match from one of their footballers who was basically saying one of his dreams growing up was to either play for Arsenal or against Arsenal. And sorry for it's getting really loud, really noisy out here. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be able to record in this noise. So apologies for all the background noise. Where was I saying? So it was a very heavily rotated lineup for Arsenal. And if anything, it's a bit of a shame we couldn't rotate more because the injuries to the likes of Odegaard, Ben White, Marino, of course. Who else was unavailable at the moment? Saliba with the ankle injury, because he would have been nailed on for this match. He would have played 90 minutes. And what it means is, bit by bit, when you take out 3, 4, 5 players in that sort of senior squad group, all of a sudden you have to have the likes of Saka on the bench here, Timber, who else? We had to call upon Calafiori. We started both Trossard and Martinelli. And so already, there was some extra players being called upon who, if you would have asked me, I wanted them nowhere near this match. And thankfully, we're able to completely sit down and give the days off to the likes of Gabriel, Zubimendi, Rice, who are absolutely flagging at the moment. They've had a very heavy workload. And you look at what's next for Arsenal. Look at this next fortnight, for example. We've got the Leverkusen match away, the first leg coming up next up. Huge match at home next weekend to Everton in the Premier League. They're in excellent away form as well. And then you've got the home leg of the round of 16, Leverkusen, the week after. So it's just on like Donkey Kong. Oh, and of course I haven't mentioned just the little thing after that of EFL Cup final against Manchester City. So it's just an incredible time, an exciting time for Arsenal. A very, very heavy workload as well for the players. So as many of them who can get some rest and respite as possible, you have to take these opportunities. And I'm back again. Sorry for the change in location. I had to relocate. I've come indoors into one of the rooms. It was so unbelievably loud out there. I cannot tell you how loud these F1 cars are if you've ever lived in the vicinity of them. So apologies for the disruption. I am back now. I will continue the recording indoors. Sorry for all the background noise you may have heard in the meantime. But if you're a Formula One fan, which I'm not, you probably would have loved it. You would have been thinking, I have so many friends who ask me at this time of year, can they just come over and they can just listen to it just from our home. So anyway, so back to what I was saying about this match. And it's going to sound really strange and somewhat entitled to say this, but when you look at the landscape of Arsenal right now, what we have in front of us, that's why I was mentioning the upcoming fixtures, being 4 competitions as well. This is unprecedented for Arsenal. And as much as we built an incredibly deep squad, especially on paper, we all roll out the first 11, second 11s in our mind, but you get to junctures like this, and then you see the absentees, you see the players that are missing. I do still think that something is going to give somewhere. As much as I'd love to win everything and win the quadruple, there's a reason why it's so hard to nail it. There's a reason why historically it just doesn't happen that often, because you get to crunch time in April, in May, you've got knockout matches of the Champions League. You've got crunch matches of the Premier League on the weekends. You're going away in Europe midweek, then you may have like a cup semi-final or a quarter-final on weekend as well. So it's on like Donkey Kong. Something's got to give. You tend to, unless you have 22 fit players that you can fully call upon and rotate as need be, when you start to lose some notable names in there, like we have in this match, and you're calling upon the same core group, some of them who have been in the red zone for a while, Rice, Zubimendi, and so on, then I think something's got to give. And what you don't want to do, you don't want to break players when you need them most. I mean, look at last season. We just couldn't. We just couldn't recover from those cluster injuries, unfortunately. Like I've always said, if anything, we overachieved in getting to that semi-final, against PSG. And it's just something that I think the club has really learned from. It's why we've invested so heavily last summer in a deep squad. But then you get to matches like this and you've got a number of key players missing, you have to really decide like how we're going to go about this. And full credit to Arteta, because he has found a solution here. We've gone to a back five. I don't recall the last time I've seen that. I remember when he first took over. In that early few months, we went to a back three, back five setup, won the FA Cup back then during COVID times. So it was really interesting to see this lineup when it was named. Great to see Salmon start, Max Dowman, two 16-year-olds. That's just amazing for them. Like, absolutely phenomenal. Like I've always said, imagine just the joy amongst their families, their loved ones. Like, you'd be so proud of them representing Arsenal in the first team as well. So huge for them. I thought Dowman was fantastic. Geez, what a player he is. Like, what a player we've got on our hands here in a difficult pitch where the ball was really holding up and some passes that they looked under hit as well. But sometimes it's the pitch. It just holds up. It's sticky. It's very patchy as well. But Dowman, he just moved. The way he moves and glides across the pitch, it's almost like he's playing on a different surface. There's something very special there. I'm also very mindful talking about them at 16 years old, because they're children, right? They're basically kids. They're minors still. So I don't feel great, even with that Salmon mistake in that first their equaliser. He would know. I mean, you saw his reaction afterwards. He'd be devastated, the poor guy. But you got to get around him. I mean, 16 years old to be representing it at this level. Credit to them. I'm not going to say too much about that, because he's just a child. He's got so much to develop and learn, and he should just be proud, so proud of what he's doing on the pitch. And I love the reaction from his teammates around him. Put an arm around him, just get back to business. And look, I also understand as well why Arteta made the change when he needed to. He's played 60-odd minutes. Maybe that was pre-planned as well, like it was with Havertz. We've got 60 minutes under the belt of Kai Havertz, which is huge, especially with Leverkusen up next. That will be very special for Kai Havertz as well. I think he's going to be doing everything he can to make sure he's in contention to start that match as well, because that will be a huge moment for him. So there is a bit of a strange vibe about this match. I did get the sense that some of the Arsenal players just played like, but collectively we know as a fan base that this is not the ultimate priority right now. This is we've got eyes on the Premier League. I think we want that desperately. We want that more than anything else. Of course, Champions League as well. You look at the pathway we potentially have in the way the draw has been handed. So I think Arsenal did play with a bit of a sense of entitlement. Maybe that this game was beneath us. I don't know what the right terminology is, but look, I can understand as well, because it sounds so entitled as well, right? I fully admit for me to say this, because there was a time where FA Cup victories kind of lifted Arsenal. It's kind of all we had in that post-Emirates era, and in the latter stages of Arsene Wenger. We went through a big trophy drought, and we finally ended it with an FA Cup win, and then we won a few more as well. And they punctuated seasons that were otherwise, we'd fall flat in the Premier League. Unfortunately, we'd fall short in the Champions League. We get to the knockout stages, and we were just dismissed by the big boys in Europe. And then you get to latest ends of the season, we were able to do Chelsea in an FA Cup final, in 2017 and whatnot. And it provides such late season joy. It gives you something to salvage, and it gives you something to be hopeful for. But next season, can this kick on? Also, historically, the most successful in the FA Cup. So how the levels have excelled in recent years, how much we have elevated ourselves in terms of we've leveled up so much that all of a sudden on paper, out of the 4 competitions, this is like the least priority. I don't know if I'm saying that in the most respectful way right now, because every match you have to take seriously, you have to be professional. And I don't think Arteta would have been too pleased. Actually, he was looking pretty agitated at times. We played like we didn't want to be there at times. And look, sure, as much as you can understand that from the outside, we all know that internally at the club, the way that the demands of Arteta, the standards, the non-negotiables that he so often drills into the players, he probably wouldn't have been too pleased by the way some players handled themselves out there. It's just a very strange vibe at the moment because, just in seasons gone, being in an FA Cup quarter-final at this stage of the season, this will be huge for Arsenal. We'd probably be a lot more joyous. But right now, it seems that we just wanted to get through, advance, of course, play as many youth team players as we can to protect the senior guys, keep them as match fit and ready as possible, and use this as an opportunity for someone like Kai Havertz to get 60 minutes of match fitness under his belt. In addition, you also want to get through unscathed without any more injuries. Unfortunately, look, just based on what I saw, it looks like a hamstring for Calafiori, which really, really sucks. And it's just, it's the nature of his season, it seems. And how good of a signing is in Hincapié, by the way. Like that's almost been essential when you look at the fitness issues of Calafiori, the way Hincapié is coming to essentially take that shirt. I mean, last season, in a way, Lewis Skelly seized his opportunity, took it off Calafiori. And this season, Calafiori started so well. He was incredible, but just these recurring injuries has really derailed his season since then. But Hincapié has stepped up. So what an astute signing that has proven to be. And how good was that last-ditch tackle, by the way, from Hincapié, deep into injury time? He's just got an unrelenting desire to defend that guy. It's fantastic. There's a pure passion in there that I love. Unfortunately, it looks like that injury to Trossard as well, maybe precautionary or whatnot, but when someone's subbed off in 37, 38 minutes in the first half, that's not a great sign. And it means that we had to reshuffle the deck again. We had to play Hincapié again, bring him on as a sub. Like I was saying earlier, if you have the likes of Lewis Skelly, if you have White, you could protect a lot of other players who've had a lot of first team minutes lately. But unfortunately, not to be. The goals themselves, I should get to. 2 absolutely cracking finishes. That Madueke shot and then Eze. It's just what you want to see. You want to see moments of quality like that for players who, look, all due respect to both of them, they should be doing that. Against a League One side, I mean, they're 2 of the most valuable players on the pitch. I think Eze, when he came on, he would by far be £68 million. I think he was. Not that it's all about the transfer fee, but you want to see players just take ownership. Right, I'd say that this is my time. This is my turf. And they both did it. I love seeing Arsenal take shots from the top of the box. If anything, I've been crying out for more of that. We just overplay a few too many passes sometimes. Maybe we did it again this time as well, because there was an excellent break that Dowman found himself in. I think, was that very early on in the match where the keeper he was a poor pass, Dowman intercepted, maybe took 1 or 2 many touches. He could have drilled that home and got his first goal. We know it's just around the corner. The way this young man conducts himself, the way he plays, he's gonna break that drought, and it's gonna be this guy's gonna end his career with a lot of goals and assists to his name. He's incredible to watch. Incredible. He was the best player on the pitch for me. He in a situation where a lot of other players you could probably expect more of, the likes of Martinelli and Jesus, I don't think they had great games. And I think there'll be some stern conversations behind the scenes between them and Arteta about their performance. You've got a 16-year-old Max Dowman who just shined. He was incredible. Great to see Madueke take that shot with quality. The goal from Eze, my goodness me, the way that the net rippled. It was fantastic. 2 moments of real quality for Arsenal to win this one. I thought Mansfield, they didn't give up. They kept on going. Full credit to them with the crowd behind them. A real cup feel to it. End-to-end stuff. Probably a bit too stretched from an Arsenal point of view, but a couple of times at that pitch that I keep referring to, it did hold the ball up a little bit. It stagnated us at times, but also when they were having some fast breakaways, maybe it helped us as well, just to give us the extra few seconds to reshuffle, get players back, just so we're not in end-to-end sprints. Because I always wince when I watch some players sprinting back on, thinking, no, don't do that. Don't pull up sore or do a hamstring or something. So maybe that's just me. I tend to be I tend to over worry these sorts of things. I just want to come through these matches as unscathed as possible, because you look at the landscape and look at what's next for Arsenal. That's where my eyes are firmly fixed on. So the next part of this recording, I wanted to touch on just that, actually, what we've got next. We've got Leverkusen next midweek. We're away first. Earlier than usual kickoff, it seems. That's when I've set my alarm for that one. That's a 4:30 kickoff AM here in Melbourne time. Is it 4:45? I think it is. Anyway, I'll deal with that one. So I think from what I saw of Kai Havertz, if he's fit, I think he starts that one. And there's a real selection. There's some nice dilemmas to have, by the way, for Arteta. What I'd like to see, and I don't think he's necessarily going to do this, but I think there's a real question mark at left wing now. I think Trossard, as incredible as his early season form was, he's gone a little bit off the boil of late, and that's okay. But players go through dips, up and down in form. I don't think Martinelli has done enough really on the balance of these matches to seize a start. But then again, it's the Champions League. Something happens with Gabriel Martinelli in the Champions League. When they play that music, he's unstoppable. Some of the goals that he scores in the Champions League, he's not able to replicate that in the Premier League, which is a bit of a shame. So there's a nice selection dilemma at left wing in terms of what I would like to see in the lineup. Hopefully, most of the team picks itself. Hopefully, Rice and Zubimendi are okay to start. I don't think Odegaard is ready yet. He looks a little bit short. There was some quotes from the Norwegian coach suggesting that he's going to be back late March and play a heavily involvement for Arsenal in the latter stages of this season, April and May. So I don't know what that means for the EFL Cup final, by the way, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. So I think Eze would probably naturally start in midfield ahead of Rice and Zubimendi. There's also the prospect, if you want to, you could put Eze on the left wing, but I don't know. Maybe just on the balance of it being a Champions League game, Martinelli starts that one. Here's the other option. I think Kai Havertz wants to play this. I think he'll be banging down Mikel's door. So what you could do is you could go back to what we were doing a month ago, having Havertz play just off Gyökeres, have him as close up, high up on the pitch as possible, and you can have Eze on the left. That's another option. We haven't really seen that combination before, and there's something about when Eze is playing high up close to Gyökeres, or when Havertz is, there's something that we can unlock and exploit there. There's something I want to see more of, but just with the stop-start nature of Arsenal and our recurring injuries, we haven't really been able to see this for a meaningful period of time. Saka on the right, of course, and then hopefully a back four. Hopefully Gabriel is back. Hopefully Saliba is fit. I'm not too sure though. That's a question mark. Otherwise, Mosquera is next in line. He had a difficult match this one, I feel. Even though Salmon gave the ball away, Mosquera, he could have been a bit more convincing, stepping forward and just attacking the ball, maybe intercept or block. But it's okay. He's so young as well. There's so many of them are still so young. There's so much time ahead of them. Mosquera, he's certainly able to step in for this one if Saliba's not fit. Hincapié left back, Timber at right back. I think as strong an 11 as possible. Win this match. If you can win in Leverkusen or take the lead, bring it back to the Emirates, I think it'll put us in a very commanding position in this tie. Because as we know, Arsenal have earned the right, having finished top 8 from 8, you make your own luck when you do that, right? Like the people who are complaining about our draw and how favourable it is, nah, I'm not having any of that. When you top the group as resoundingly as we did, you make your own luck. And finally, we've actually got a draw to show for it. I mean, without complaining too much about last season, but Arsenal finished 3rd last season. And from what I recall, PSG, they had to go through some qualifiers, didn't they? I think they finished, like 19th or 20th in the league phase. I don't know. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, please. But the point I'm trying to make is that for some reason, in those ties against Madrid and then PSG, we were away in the second league, where I think the rules have been changed since for that very reason, that if you finish the top, right, it is more favourable for the team to have the second leg at home. And naturally that should be handed to the team that has earned it over the course of the qualifying campaign. So Arsenal made their own luck here for the remaining. So however deep we go in this competition remains to be seen. We'll be having a second legs at the Emirates, as it should. So I'm really looking forward to that tie. And don't worry, I'll be back on post-match to record hopefully is a resounding first leg victory for Arsenal. Now, the final part of this recording that I was just tossing up, do I do this or not? Do I pour more fuel on the fire? or anything, but I did want to say a few thoughts about just Arsenal's coverage in the media. I know I've spoken about it a lot this season already. Thank you for putting up with me at times when I go on my side rants about the pressure cooker Arsenal live under. But I feel like I just have to touch on this just a little bit more one last, or when I say one last time, the story's not going away, is it? Until Arsenal finally wins something. And I think that will shut up a lot of the haters. But I would like to share a few things now. The way Arsenal are portrayed as some kind of villain of the Premier League or in England, it's so bizarre for me. In the wash-up of Havertz having an absolute sook and a whinge. He wins before the match, he wins during the match against Brighton, and then afterwards as well. And I just watch the way, even on the other side of the world, I can't help but just watch with just sheer confusion. I'm baffled as to the way certain things are covered or are not. Can you imagine for a moment? Imagine Arteta conducted himself in that manner. If he behaved in that way, if he complained so much pre-match, he would be mocked and ridiculed all across the punditry landscape prior to the match. If he devoted as much time in his pre-match press conference, right, they'd be saying how obsessed he is. If he conducted himself that way during the match, always mouthing off to the referee, the fourth official, berating Arsenal's players, wanting second yellow cards that weren't there, and then post-match whinging as well as much as he did, can you imagine the fallout from Arteta? They are obsessed. He seems to live rent-free, as the saying goes, in a lot of people's minds, Arteta does. Can you imagine the way they would have covered him? I said this a month ago. Remember when Emery, when he wouldn't even hang around to shake Arteta's hands after they'd been dished up a serve 4-1 at the Emirates? And then he complained afterwards that he was cold and he waited for Arteta, but Arteta took too long. Can you just imagine the way the two incidents will be covered? It would be covered with so much animosity towards Arsenal and so much just aggression and basically berating Arsenal, telling us how to behave. They don't be having a field day. All the pundits who hate Arsenal, and there are lots of them, by the way. And I can understand why. You look at how many ex-United players are very vocal now, and they have a lot of exposure across the media platforms. Everyone from obviously Neville to Roy Keane, there are Scholes as well. There are so many of them who hate Arsenal because Arsenal and United were a massive thing in the late 90s and early 2000s. And that stuff lives with you. Look at the way Schmeichel conducts himself. He was a great goalkeeper, by the way, in the late 90s. He was an incredible goalkeeper. But Arsenal, he hated, and he still does. I mean, so you can't tell me that their punditry now is not biased or coloured from their dislike, their almost generational hatred of Arsenal. It's not. They can't detach that, and it's okay just to call it like it is, right? But they won't. They don't. They almost pretend that it's not about Arsenal, and it's so fake. I can see it, and I can notice it all the way across from this side of the world. It's so fake. They the way Arsenal are picked on for certain things that other clubs just aren't. I mean, you look at the statistics, by the way, of the ball in play percentages, how long goalkeepers take to distribute, how many players delay the restart elsewhere but don't get penalised for it. It just seems to be an Arsenal-related thing. When Arsenal do well and have a big win, we're told not to over-celebrate. Get down the tunnel, lads. Don't over-celebrate. You haven't won anything yet. But you look at the way other teams celebrate. I mean, I saw the way City were celebrating a few victories lately against Liverpool at Anfield, against Newcastle at home. The way they're going, the way Guardiola too is pumping his fists at the crowd. But it's okay for them to do because they've been there, done that. They're perennial winners. And with that comes a level of respect that Arsenal right now can't command. However, the way we are berated as these villains, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I even heard comments about like people like neutrals, they want City to win over Arsenal because they don't like the way we go about it. I'm baffled by that. I'm absolutely baffled. We are up against a club who has got 115 plus charges against them, unprecedented, institutional cheating on a never before seen level that continues to drag on through the legal system, that they themselves will do and continue to do as much as they can to delay, to defer, to obfuscate with the resources they have, the deep pockets of their ownership. Do you remember that time where the barrister who they selected to have on retainer, they had the banner of him draped around the Etihad Stadium from their fans celebrating him. What have we come to? That people want that they want those clubs, those institutions to succeed over Arsenal. I don't understand it. It is generational hatred on a scale that I just don't get. And sure, you can dislike Arsenal for a number of things. However, the way we are scrutinized, what's happening now is something new. This thing that happened last weekend about Arsenal being set pieces and something's got to be done and whatnot. But then 24 hours before, when Liverpool scored 3 goals from set pieces, we probably all saw the headlines, right? They were lauded as the new set piece kings. But then 24 hours later, it's Arsenal set pieces again. Something's got to be done. How did they get away with it? When you look at all the pulling and tussling, which every team does, by the way. Do you remember earlier in the season? I'd never seen this before, by the way, but when they adjusted the Premier League table points, when you exclude set pieces, I had never seen that before. I had never seen it. And I haven't seen it since. And question yourself, why haven't you seen it since? It's because Arsenal are no longer the most successful team from set pieces. That's why. We're not. If the highest number of goals came from Arsenal as set piece kings, so to speak, you will keep seeing those tables. You'll see it all the time. The adjusted table, if you remove set pieces. But set pieces don't count. A goal is a goal last time I checked, but when Arsenal do it, it's a problem. All of a sudden, Arsenal are no longer the most successful. So that little adjusted column, that adjusted table, it's no longer a thing. Convenient, isn't it? Do you remember when Arsenal were were criticised as being too emotional, over emotional, can't manage ourselves on the pitch? We've ironed that out. Look at the way Chelsea play. Look at the red cards. They're disciplinary issues. Arsenal have had no red cards this season. I think we're the lowest in terms of yellow cards as well. But something has to be done about Arsenal, about the way they behave. You just can't win. You simply cannot win. The only way to win is to go out there and genuinely win the title. Win the title. And then comes that respect is commanded. It's earned. All this stuff will go away. But having said that, what we've got to be careful of is what's happening now. There is a narrative I'm noticing now too. And the narrative is that the Premier League is boring. It's no longer what it was. I'm really struggling to watch this season because of what Arsenal have made it into. It's set pieces and blah, blah, blah. You know what they're doing? This is my take on it. I'm happy to be wrong, but my take is they know how good Arsenal are. They know. Time and time again, we hear about how the Premier League is the best league in the world. It's the most entertaining, has the highest viewership. As a global brand, it is untouchable. Has the highest amount of money when you look at the transfers coming in and out. As a product, the Premier League has never been better, I feel. It's never been more competitive. Listen to Virgil van Dijk last week say, after their loss to Wolves, about how competitive this Premier League season is, by the way. He knows. He knows. Anyone at any time can take points or win against anyone. It is that competitive. It is mad how good this Premier League season is. However, what they're doing is they know how good Arsenal are. They are trying to cloud the quality of the Premier League to discredit Arsenal. So as likely as it looks, with each week, each victory of Arsenal in the Premier League, as we get closer and closer to that title, that's going to ramp up. They're going to keep dialing up that pressure that the Premier League is not what it used to be. It's boring, right? Put an asterisk against Arsenal's names. That comes from bitterness because they don't want to give Arsenal the credit that we deserve. First in the Premier League right now, 8 from 8 in the Champions League, EFL Cup semi-final, now into a quarter-final of the FA Cup. We are so good. We've only lost 3 matches at all across all competitions overall this season. We are good. And they don't want to admit it. So what can they do is, if they can't laugh at us for being bottle jobs this season, it remains to be seen, of course, because there's still so much football to go. But don't worry, the knives are already sharpened. If Arsenal botch it, they will be all over us. They'll be all over us with the bottle talk, laughing at us and dancing on our grave. Equally, though, they're worried. They know how good we are, that if they can't laugh at us, what they can do then instead is discredit the achievement by then belittling the Premier League, saying how boring it is, that Arsenal don't deserve champions. This is the most boring, ugly team I've ever seen, the most unworthy champions. They know what they're doing. They're giving themselves an out because rather than just give credit where it's due, the Arsenal are elite. And we look to unlock the 1%s everywhere. We look to be the masters of everything from defending, from set pieces, from corners, from free kicks, rather than give credit to the elite level of coaching and tactics from our club that's led by Mikel Arteta. They will discredit the product itself, just so they don't have to say Arsenal are damn good and they're worthy champions. That's what's happened. So pay close attention to that. And this is just my take on it, right? I'm happy to be wrong, but watching the club for as long as I have and seeing the narrative, seeing the way we are spoken about in a spotlight that no one else is, I know I can see through the crap and I can see what they're trying to do. And the best way to respond to that is for Arsenal just to do what we continue to do. Do what we did against Brighton. Let them implode. Let them have their head lost. Let them be so distracted and berate officials and the players to be distracted. We'll just go and win games of football. We'll just go and do what we do best. Focus on the task at hand. Win the match, 3 points. Thank you very much. On to the next one. And let's just keep doing that. Let them all cry, whinge and moan. We've got a job to do. Go and win the Premier League title. So that's just my take on things. I know I've banged on a lot in this recording and I'm going to finish up now and record. But look, and publish this one. But please tell me, have I got anything right? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I would love to hear your thoughts. Again, I'm happy to be wrong. This is, I understand. I'm watching from the other side of the world. I'm just a random with a microphone. I understand that. Not trying to come across as some expert analyst myself. So please do let me know that. Is anything of what I said, does it resonate? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I would love to hear from you. Thank you for putting up with what turned out to be a long, disjointed recording. I'm going to wrap this one up and publish. So please like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on audio platforms, please follow the show on Apple or Spotify. Leave me a 5-star review and please leave me any feedback. I'll read every single word. So thank you so much. I'll talk to you all again soon in a few days after the Bayern Leverkusen match. Until then, look after yourselves. Enjoy the Grand Prix if you're here in Australia, by the way. Look after yourselves, check in with your loved ones, and come on, Arsenal.